What's going on YouTube? So pickup trucks have always been a jack of all trades kind of vehicle.
And that's especially been true on ultra-luxury models like this High Country, which blends a lot of utilitarian aspects as well as a load of luxury.
So is this 2024 Silverado High Country worth every penny? That's what we're about to find out. Now, like always, let's kick off this review under the hood. So what are we gonna find? You're gonna find a lot of different choices, as a matter of fact. I won't talk about all of them right here at the spec dump, but we do have a standard 5.3 liter V8 with this High Country model. That's making 355 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque.
You're gonna have a 10-speed automatic transmission. We have four-wheel drive on this model, and as far as fuel economy, it's sitting at 17 miles a gallon combined.
Now, like I said, we will talk about the rest of those powertrains, which have had some updates for 2024 later on in the extensive test drive we're gonna go on. While we're on that drive, we're gonna get things like our signature sound level reading, so we can compare this pickup truck to all the other trucks on carconfections.com. But first, let's close up the hood and take a look at the exterior. Now, in order to keep this video under about an hour and a half, we're gonna kind of focus our attention on the trim level we have today, and that is the High Country. So this really represents pretty much the best that you can get in the Silverado lineup, especially in terms of luxury. And Chevy's gonna make that very obvious as soon as you walk up to the model. So you have the signature Silverado grille, but this one's going to be all blinged out. So we've got the big chrome bars that are gonna run all across the front end design. You already saw me point out the High Country branding inside of the grille itself. And we're also gonna come with the high-end headlight arrangement. So this, of course, is fully LED. As you can see, we also have the really nice looking daytime running light and dynamic turn signal indicator that runs through there. This does also play entry and exit animations, which is really nice. And then down below, we're also going to find LED fog lamps on this model. Now, rolling on to the exterior design, we've got that signature Silverado look, of course.
Yeah, and I like the way it looks, especially here in High Country fashion. It has that kind of classy Silverado look. And then let's go ahead and see if all the elements of our taillights are LED for this fully loaded model. So we have an LED brake light, incandescent reverse light. We do have an LED turn signal indicator though. So 2 out of 3 elements are LED. Here at Car Confections, we like to see full LED taillights, but 2 out of 3 is not bad overall. And then dropping down to this lower area, all of this is going to be finished in a body color to class up the rear design. As far as the tow rating, I'm inserting that in a box right now. And I do want to talk about these exhaust pipes because I do love the way they look, but there's a new feature for 2024. If you opt for the 6.2 liter, that comes standard with an active exhaust system. Unfortunately, we have that 5.3 today, so we won't be able to hear that, but I imagine it sounds absolutely phenomenal. Now, it's a truck after all, so let's check out the bed. Now, on this particular model, we have the multi-flex tailgate. That's a $200 option. Otherwise, you would just have a regular tailgate setup, and it actually would be power adjusting on the High Country model, so it could go up and down fully powered. Now, looking back here, this is the 5.5-foot bed, as I mentioned earlier. We do have special High Country branding, which spices up the overall look of this rear area. Also, we do have a nice bed liner. As far as other things, we have some lighting on the side, as well as a household style outlet for powering some of your tools and stuff like that. Additionally, the multi-flex tailgate, of course, has 6 different modes. You've seen it in other GM truck reviews. It's really a cool tailgate setup, so I would recommend getting it. I do also want to point out you have these nice little side steps to make getting in quite easy.
Now, there is something new I want to talk about for the High Country, and that's the fact that for 2024, Chevy is offering a High Country Midnight Edition. As you would expect, that is going to black out a lot of the chrome that you saw up in the front, as well as other elements throughout the rest of the exterior and the wheels. And Chevy's also offering some blackout packages on some of the lower trim levels this year as well. Now, speaking of the wheels, we've got the optional 22-inch alloy wheels. It is going to come standard with 20-inch alloy wheels. And as you can see, once again, a lot of bling here. We've got the satin silver finish as well as chrome inserts inside of it. We do have High Country branding right there. Mirrors are also going to have chrome trim, and they're going to be fully loaded as you would expect. So we have heating, power folding, auto dimming on the driver's side, as well as blind spot monitoring.
Now at the side, we have the High Country model, which does mean that we're going to have the crew cab with the short bed on this particular model. This is the 5.5-foot bed. It's going to be locked into crew cab configuration for the High Country, so do keep that in mind. Now, as far as the safety systems are concerned, I'm very happy to tell you that Chevy is including 3 out of your 4 active safety features as standard equipment on every single Silverado, not just the High Country. We do also have a new standard feature for the High Country for 2024, and that would be adaptive cruise control. So now all of the High Country models are going to have all 4 of your safety systems as standard equipment. Furthermore, we do have the option of Super Cruise, which can also operate with a trailer as well. But guys, that wraps up the exterior design. And if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now it's time to move on to the interior. First, we'll take a look at our key fob. Of course, you do have a smart entry system. This is the typical Chevy key fob with things like remote start built into the fob itself. And to get inside, there's not a sensor behind the handle. You just press this button and that will unlock the door. Now, taking a look inside of the interior at first glance, of course, you're going to see a lot of luxury because this is the High Country model. And let's go ahead and talk a little bit about those interior color and material selections. So with the High Country, of course, you're going to have standard bucket seats, first of all, standard real leather seats. They're going to be perforated. And you've got 3 choices: black, night shift blue, or black and umber. This is going to be the jet black option, but even though it's jet black, it does still have some brown perforations, which I think look really, really nice. We also have these nice piping details going around the side, and High Country embroidered into the headrest itself. Overall, they're very comfortable as well. The seat itself is going to be 10-way power adjusting with 4-way lumbar support. You don't have the 16-way power adjusting seats like you do on the Denali GMC, but you do still have two-person memory seating, So let's go ahead and get inside and look at all the details. Now, the High Country does come standard with fixed running boards, so getting inside is nice and easy. You can also get available power running boards if you prefer. And when you get inside, you're going to see this really detailed animation go across the gauge cluster, and it is High Country specific. I really like that the different trim levels have different animations in the Silverado lineup. Just feels very upscale. Now, speaking of upscale, let's look at the rest of the cabin material. So over here in the door trim, we've got leather going through here as well as through this section, perforated leather through here, and you're going to notice throughout the cabin a genuine open pore wood here with the High Country. As we move to the upper dash, you'll find more of this leatherette material. Big piece of the open pore wood right through here so you can really get a good look at it. And you're going to find a faux aluminum through here, more wood down here along the center console. Now to fire it up, put your foot on the brake and press the push button start. Now moving into a first-person perspective, we'll take a look at our gauge cluster here. 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster. This is actually going to be included on the LT trim level and above. Like I was mentioning, it has cool things like the animation, different designs you can pick between. But what I really like is this gigantic head-up display. This thing is huge. It's actually 15 inches. This is available via the technology package here on the High Country. Coming back to the steering wheel, typical Silverado design. It is going to be power adjusting on the LTZ and above. We also have steering wheel heating on this model. And then off to the side here is where you'll find your 4-wheel drive controls, head-up display adjustments, and headlight controls. Let's take a look next at interior storage. It's, of course, nice stitching on top of this console, and when you open it up, just like any Silverado, you have a ton of space. Absolutely massive. We also have a household outlet, 2 USB ports, and since this is the baller of the Silverado lineup, let's throw in our stacks of fake cash to demonstrate what that looks like instead of the coupons. Now we do also have wireless phone charging pad, More storage up through here, more in the front. Got some storage along the side. You have some storage up here behind the screen. Of course, you have lots of door storage as well. And you do have your traditional glove box as well as this storage underneath of the piece of wood. So tons of storage. You're not gonna run out of this unless you are a hoarder. Now, over here, you'll find an electronic shifter. This will be on the models with bucket seats. Pull back for drive, press forward for reverse, of course. In reverse, you'll find a 360-degree camera system here on one of our upper end trim levels. There are a lot of different views that you can switch between, including a live bed view, a trailer hookup view, all types of useful things that you can do with this camera system. Of course, you do also have an electronic parking brake located over there on the left side of the steering wheel. Now, rising up the dashboard, most Silverados will come with a dual zone automatic climate control setup. Of course, the High Country will have it standard. You can make your adjustments very easily right there. Most Silverados will also come with 3-stage heated seats, although seat ventilation is going to be standard on just this fully loaded High Country model. Another thing you get the high-end version of is going to be the audio system. So this is the Bose 7-speaker premium sound system with a subwoofer, and we'll go ahead and give it a sample right now. Yeah, so overall sound quality is quite nice. And of course, I can't forget to point out one of the largest speaker grills I have ever seen in a vehicle. This thing is absolutely massive, and it is real metal from top to bottom. Definitely really like that aspect. All right, so now let's kind of turn our attention here to our main display. So this is the 13.4-inch high definition display. This is part of the Silverado refresh when it got this brand new interior layout. What's important about this display, beyond the size and the resolution being great, is the fact that it is running Android Automotive OS. So with that is going to come Google built in. So you'll notice over here on our side display, we have a Google Maps page pulled up. You have all the Google apps built in, so that includes things like live traffic. But if you don't want to use it, you can still use wireless Android Auto or wireless Apple CarPlay as well. Rising above, we do have an auto dimming mirror. This one is also the digital camera setup because we have the technology package. HomeLink universal remotes are located up here. Also located up here, of course, is going to be your power sunroof. For 2024, Chevy is still not offering a panoramic setup, so you can option on just this traditional sized unit.
Now, sitting in a crew cab pickup truck is always a pleasure, so let's go ahead and talk about this rear area. Now, we're sitting at very impressive legroom figures. 43.4 inches of legroom, 40.1 inches of headroom. Guys, this is just massive. Unless you're Shaquille O'Neal, you are going to fit back here perfectly fine. There is so much space. I mean, I'm 5'9", and it makes me look like a midget sitting back here. And this seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". Look at this. I did bring my bendy ruler, but I don't even know if it's going to be long enough. Well, we're sitting at a same foot of space between my knee and the seat back. I can barely get my tip in of the feet underneath of the seat, so certainly a lot of space back here. Also, the headroom is impressive because they've cut out this piece right here to give you even more space. Now, here in the center, 2 cup holders. Dropping down below that, heated rear seats on High Country, so yeah, you're going to have the sweaty crack, which is nice. And then down below that, we have a USB-C, a USB-A, standard vents on every single Silverado model. Here in the center, we have 2 cup holders with a little bit of storage in between. Also, I want to point out the center seat is very wide. Then as far as the door trim, nicely finished for High Country duty, wood trim, some leather through here, leather on the armrest portion, leather on pretty much all of it, and then down to the very bottom, we have a lot of door storage as well as a metal speaker grill. And it's a truck after all, so let's see how usable the rear area is. Of course, you can fold up the rear seat bottom, and then that gives you this amount of space. As you can see, we put a lot of our camera gear underneath it here. We're not done yet, though, because if we fold that back down, we have a little hidden storage compartment in the seat back itself. So if there's something, maybe your favorite little snacks that you want to hide from the kids, can actually just be hidden back here. All right, guys, we're behind the wheel of the 2024 Silverado High Country. In this test drive, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our sound level reading, as we promised earlier in the video. But first, let's go ahead and start with a hard acceleration. Nice.
Easy as that, you're up to 60 miles per hour. So this model here, the High Country, comes standard with the 5.3 liter V8. You're probably familiar with this if you've seen any past Silverado videos, because it is the same arrangement as it has been for a few years. Yep. 355 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque. As you can tell, that is plenty of power for a large truck like this.
Yep, and it does have a nice V8 growl. Now, of course, if you want the ultimate V8 growl, get the optional 6.2 liter V8, 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque on that one. That is an option here on the High Country. I assume a lot of people, if you're going for this top trim level, will actually get that motor. Additionally, it has that active sound mode now for the exhaust, so it's going to sound even better this year.
Yeah, passing power is really good as well. Now there's two more engines that we haven't talked about yet. That's why we didn't talk about it at the beginning, because we didn't want it to be like 10 minutes long, right?
Yeah, right.
So we have a 2.7 liter turbo 4-cylinder engine. That has been rebranded this year to be called Turbo Max, and essentially this is the same engine that we also tested out in the Colorado. It's not available on the High Country trim, but most of the lower trim levels will have that as the standard engine option for 2024.
Yeah, and then of course you do also have the diesel option. That's a 3-liter turbo inline 6-cylinder diesel. That's going to be rated at 305 horsepower, 495 pound-feet of torque though. So the most torque that you can get on any version of the Silverado is on that diesel, which I also imagine a lot of you guys might be interested in looking at for sure.
Especially now that Ram is no longer offering a diesel. As far as the other aspect of the powertrain, we have a 10-speed automatic transmission on board. This is going to be the transmission used for 3 out of the 4 engine options. Yep. If you have the 2.7 turbo, that's going to be an 8-speed automatic instead. As far as this 10-speed, we've tested this out in a lot of different applications. It's a really good transmission. It is super smooth, and it doesn't seem confused or anything, even though it's got a lot of gears.
Yeah, and you do have 2-wheel drive as standard. 4-wheel drive is going to be the optional drivetrain. And as far as your fuel economy is concerned, it's going to be sitting at 17 miles a gallon combined for the one that we're in today. This is the 5.3 liter with 4-wheel drive, which I assume is a very popular configuration with the Silverado model. But the fuel economy doesn't really vary all that much unless you go for the diesel, which gets 24 miles a gallon, which is by far the best that you can get in a Silverado. Now, I don't want to delay this conversation anymore because this is the High Country model and this is the luxury version of the Silverado. So how does it ride? Well, we have the optional adaptive dampers on this model, which is an option on the 5.3 liter. If you choose a 6.2 liter High Country, you get standard adaptive dampers. And ride quality is really, really good. Just cruising along for our little drive here today, I've been very impressed. If you hit a bump, it really does a good job of soaking it up. It also just feels a lot more controlled than other versions of the Silverado that we've been in, especially like something like a Trail Boss that's sitting up higher with the knobbier tires. This definitely has a more luxury street focus to it, that's for sure. Yeah, definitely. Of course, what is it not quite as good as the full air suspension on the Ram? That's still going to be the benchmark, of course, but this is really as close as you can get to that without going to a full air ride. Let's speed up to 55 to get our sound level reading as promised. All right, 53.8 is our official sound level reading.
Wow.
For this 2024 Silverado High Country. That is very, very impressive, guys. And I do want to point out, we have all-new website, carconfections.com, where you can go on and check this Silverado compared to all of its rivals and see how it lands in terms of the quietness. And as far as how that ranks among its rivals, it's sitting in the number 3 position of the quietest trucks that we've ever tested. So very, very impressive sound level reading here. And it's time to do our airball and slam dunk. Drew, why don't you kick us off with the slam dunk?
Today our slam dunk is going to be the technology on board. Especially when you choose the High Country with the available technology package. You really get just a lot of nice tech here with this infotainment system that's been upgraded, the digital gauges. I love the head-up display. It's absolutely massive, maybe the biggest I've ever experienced in the industry. So there's just a lot to like in that regard.
Yeah, and as far as our airball is concerned, we're going to say it goes the same for all the GM trucks. No panoramic moonroof just yet on any of the models. So especially here on the High Country, you definitely notice that it's not panoramic. And lastly, for the warranty, you're looking at 3-year 36,000 mile basic, 5-year 68 powertrain. Also, you do get 1 complimentary visit.
Now, with everything rising so much in terms of price, you would expect this truck to rise a lot in price, but thankfully, Chevy's actually leaving this one pretty much the same for 2024 model year. So I'm happy about that. We're starting at $47,695 for the work truck model. Of course, as you move up to the High Country, that's going to add quite a bit to your base price. It's going to be $68,095. Now, when you add additional equipment like what we've done, we're sitting at about $73,225 when we add the $1,895 destination charge. And that's where we're leaving off on this in-depth review of the 2024 Chevy Silverado in its fully loaded High Country trim level. If you enjoyed watching this video, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help give us access to vehicles like this where we can show you on the channel, and you really do make this all possible by subscribing. So please consider doing that and joining this Car Confections family. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. We really appreciate it. Also, if you haven't had the chance to check out our TikTok and Instagram pages, please go ahead and do that. Drew mentioned throughout this review that we do also have an all-new website, so please check that out as well if you want to compare this Silverado to some of the rivals. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.